Ma'am, we received a call about a disturbance. We need to verify everyone's
There's
safety.
no disturbance. My husband is fine. You can leave.
I understand, but we still have to check. If you could just let us speak with him, it'll be quick.
He's busy. I said everything's fine.
I hear you. Our policy requires we see him in person. Can you step aside?
No, this is ridiculous.
Ma'am, please, we just need a moment to be out here.
The living room is immaculate. Beige furniture arranged with precision. Family photos on the mantel. The kind of home where everything has its place and disorder is not tolerated. But tonight, disorder has arrived in uniform. 2 officers stand in the doorway, called to what dispatch described as a welfare check with possible threats involved. The woman who answers, let's call her Victoria, has that particular energy. The kind that radiates I know my rights entitlement mixed with barely contained fury. Her husband sits on the couch, silent, defeated, the posture of a man who has learned that speaking only makes things worse. What Victoria doesn't know yet is that the lead officer responding tonight is not the patient, endlessly accommodating type she's clearly used to dealing with. He's the kind who believes respect is earned, not demanded, and that badges don't come with built-in deference to people who confuse volume with authority. Within minutes, Victoria will test every boundary she can find. And within the hour, she'll discover that some officers don't play games. They enforce laws, and when you cross certain lines, friendly stops being an option. If you're here because you love watching entitled people meet consequences they never saw coming, smash that subscribe button right now. This is going to be a masterclass in what happens when Karen energy collides with a no-nonsense cop who has exactly zero patience for manipulation tactics. The call came in just after 9 p.m. A neighbor reported hearing screaming and what sounded like objects being thrown. The dispatcher noted that a male voice had briefly come on the line saying everything was fine before the call disconnected abruptly. Red flags everywhere. Disconnected calls during domestic disputes are treated as high priority because they often indicate that one party is being prevented from communicating by the other. When Officer Brennan arrives with his partner, he's already operating under the assumption that someone in this house is in danger and someone else is controlling the narrative. He knocks firmly. Victoria opens the door with a smile that doesn't reach her eyes. That fake hospitality that says I'm being polite but you're not welcome here. Officer Brennan doesn't return the smile. He identifies himself and asks to speak with both occupants. Victoria's smile vanishes immediately. She crosses her arms. Can I ask what this is about? She knows exactly what it's about. Officer Brennan doesn't play along. Ma'am, we received a call about a disturbance. We need to verify everyone's safety. I'll need to speak with you and anyone else in the home. Victoria's jaw tightens. There's no disturbance. You can leave. This is the first critical miscalculation. Victoria believes she can dismiss police officers like she's declining a sales pitch. But welfare checks don't work that way. Once officers are dispatched to a potential domestic violence situation, they cannot simply leave because one party says everything is fine. They have a legal and moral obligation to verify the safety of all occupants, particularly if there's any indication that someone might be under duress. Officer Brennan steps forward slightly, his body language shifting from inquiry to insistence. Ma'am, I'm going to need you to step aside. We're coming in to ensure everyone is safe. Victoria plants her feet. You don't have permission to enter my home. Do you have a warrant? The question reveals her fundamental misunderstanding of the law. No, he doesn't have a warrant. He doesn't need one. Exigent circumstances, specifically the welfare check doctrine and the potential for imminent harm, give officers the authority to enter without consent or a warrant. Victoria thinks she's delivered a legal checkmate. Officer Brennan's expression doesn't change. He simply repeats himself, this time with an edge that makes it clear he's not asking anymore. Step aside. We're coming in. Victoria realizes she's losing control of the situation and immediately escalates. Her voice rises. You cannot just barge into my house. I know my rights. This is a legal entry. I will have your badge for this. Officer Brennan, unmoved, steps past her into the living room. His partner follows. Victoria is now shouting, "Get out! Get out of my house right now!" The husband, who has been sitting silently on the couch, stands up. He looks exhausted. Officer Brennan addresses him directly. "Sir, are you okay? Did something happen here tonight?" Before the husband can answer, Victoria inserts herself between them. "Don't answer that. You don't have to talk to them." This is the second major miscalculation. By preventing her husband from speaking to the officers, Victoria has just raised every red flag in the Domestic Violence Protocol Handbook. When one party actively blocks communication between police and the other party, it's often a sign of control and possible abuse. Officer Brennan's tone sharpens. Ma'am, step back. I need to speak with him directly. Victoria refuses. He has nothing to say to you. Officer Brennan looks at his partner and nods. They're going to separate the parties. Separation is standard procedure in domestic calls. It prevents coordination of stories, reduces the chance of intimidation, and allows each person to speak freely. Officer Brennan asks Victoria to step into the kitchen with his partner while he speaks with the husband in the living room. Victoria explodes. Absolutely not. I'm not going anywhere. You have no authority here. This is my home. Officer Brennan's patience, which was already thin, evaporates completely. Ma'am, I'm giving you a lawful order. You're going to step into the kitchen with my partner, or you're going to be removed from the home. Your choice. The threat is clear. Victoria's face flushes crimson. Removed from my own home? You can't do that. Actually, he can. In many jurisdictions, officers responding to domestic disputes have the authority to temporarily remove uncooperative parties to ensure the safety of the investigation. It's not an arrest. It's a de-escalation tool. But Victoria doesn't know that. She thinks he's bluffing. She points a finger at his chest, not quite touching but close enough to be aggressive. You lay one hand on me and I will sue you personally. I will own your house. Officer Brennan doesn't flinch. He simply keys his radio and requests additional units. Victoria has just escalated a welfare check into a standoff. While they wait for backup, Officer Brennan's partner manages to coax the husband into the kitchen for a brief conversation. The husband, whose name is revealed to be Martin, speaks quietly. He explains that Victoria had been drinking. They'd argued about finances. She'd thrown a glass across the room, which explained the crashing sound the neighbor heard. When he'd tried to call his brother for advice, she'd grabbed the phone and hung up. Then she'd called the police herself, claiming Martin was being aggressive, hoping the officers would remove him from the house instead. But when the dispatcher asked follow-up questions, Victoria panicked and disconnected. The entire call was a manipulation tactic gone wrong. Martin looks directly at the officer. I'm not in danger, but I'm also not allowed to leave. If I try to go to a hotel, she'll accuse me of abandonment. If I stay, this will happen again tomorrow. He's trapped in a cycle of psychological abuse and he knows it. The officer takes detailed notes. This is no longer just a welfare check. This is a domestic disturbance with evidence of controlling behavior, property destruction, and false reporting. Back in the living room, Officer Brennan asks Victoria to provide her identification. Standard procedure. He needs her name, date of birth, and address for the incident report. Victoria refuses. I don't have to show you anything. You're trespassing. Officer Brennan corrects her calmly but firmly. You called the police. We're investigating. I need your ID. Victoria's response is to reach for her phone. I'm calling my lawyer right now. And I'm recording this. You're violating my constitutional rights. Officer Brennan shrugs. Record away. Everything we're doing is lawful and you're welcome to have an attorney present, but that doesn't change the fact that I need your identification right now. Victoria dials a number, holds the phone to her ear, and begins speaking loudly into it. Yes. Hello. I need an attorney. The police have illegally entered my home. Officer Brennan waits. After a moment, it becomes clear she's not actually speaking to anyone. The phone isn't even connected. She's performing, pretending to have legal backup to intimidate him. It's not working. Officer Brennan extends his hand. Ma'am, give me your ID or I'm going to assume you're refusing to identify yourself, which is a crime. Refusing to identify yourself to police during a lawful investigation is indeed a crime in most states. It falls under obstruction or hindering statutes. Victoria doesn't believe him. She thinks he's making it up to scare her. She lowers the phone and sneers. You can assume whatever you want. I don't answer to you. Officer Brennan's expression hardens. All right, turn around and put your hands behind your back. You're under arrest for obstruction. Victoria's face goes blank with shock. What? You can't arrest me. I haven't done anything. Officer Brennan steps toward her. You've refused to identify yourself during a lawful investigation. That's obstruction. Turn around. Victoria backs away. Get away from me. Don't you dare touch me. Officer Brennan doesn't chase her. He simply keys his radio again. I need that backup now. Subject is refusing arrest. Victoria is now screaming. This is assault. You're assaulting me in my own home. I have witnesses. Where? Officer Brennan looks around the empty living room. There are no witnesses except his partner, who is still in the kitchen with Martin, and the body camera recording every word. Victoria has lost the plot entirely. She's inventing a reality that doesn't exist. Backup arrives within 2 minutes. 2 additional officers enter the home. Victoria immediately pivots to them. Thank God you're here. This officer has been harassing me. He broke into my home without a warrant. He's threatening to arrest me for no reason. I want him removed immediately. The backup officers look at Officer Brennan, who provides a calm, factual summary. We responded to a welfare check. The female subject has been uncooperative, refused to identify herself, and is now refusing arrest for obstruction. The husband has provided a statement indicating property destruction and false reporting. Everything is on bodycam. The backup officers nod. They've seen this before. One of them addresses Victoria directly. Ma'am, you need to comply with Officer Brennan's instructions. If you continue to resist, you're going to be charged with resisting arrest in addition to obstruction. Victoria looks between the 3 officers, realizing that her rescue squad has just become her arrest team. This isn't happening. You're all corrupt. I'm going to report every single one of you. Officer Brennan, done with the conversation, moves forward. Ma'am, final warning. Hands behind your back. Victoria turns and tries to walk toward the bedroom. Officer Brennan catches her arm. And the fight begins. Victoria wrenches her arm away and swings wildly. She doesn't land a punch, but the attempt is enough. That's assaulting an officer. Officer Brennan and one of the backup officers move in simultaneously. They take her to the ground using controlled force, each officer securing one of her arms. Victoria is screaming at a volume that would shatter glass. Let go of me. You're hurting me. I can't breathe. Stop. I can't breathe. The officers don't stop, but they do check. Ma'am, if you're talking, you're breathing. Stop resisting and this will be over. Victoria continues to thrash. Her husband, Martin, emerges from the kitchen and watches in stunned silence. The woman who has controlled every aspect of his life through intimidation and manipulation is now face down on her own designer rug, being handcuffed by police. It's surreal. One of the backup officers addresses him. Sir, is there somewhere you can stay tonight? Martin nods slowly. I'll go to my brother's. The officer hands him a card. Call this number tomorrow. We'll connect you with victim services. Martin takes the card, grabs his wallet and keys, and walks out the front door without looking back. For the first time in years, he's free. Victoria is hauled to her feet, wrists secured behind her back. Her hair is disheveled. Mascara streaks down her face. The image of control she presented at the door has completely disintegrated. She's still yelling, but now it's incoherent. Fragments of threats and accusations tumbling over each other. You're all going to prison. I'm pressing charges. My lawyer is going to destroy you. This is kidnapping. Officer Brennan begins walking her toward the door. Ma'am, you're under arrest for obstruction of justice, resisting arrest, and assault on a law enforcement officer. You have the right to remain silent. I suggest you use it. Victoria does not use it. She continues her tirade all the way to the patrol car. Neighbors have emerged on their porches, watching the spectacle. Victoria notices them and her humiliation transforms into rage. Stop looking at me. Mind your own business. This is illegal. They're kidnapping me. The neighbors exchange glances. They've heard her shouting before. They've seen Martin leaving the house late at night, clearly trying to escape arguments. No one looks sympathetic. Officer Brennan opens the rear door of the patrol car. Watch your head. He guides her into the back seat. She tries to kick him. He closes the door. Inside the patrol car, Victoria's demeanor shifts again. Now she's crying. Huge, heaving sobs that sound almost theatrical. Please, she wails. I didn't do anything. Why are you doing this to me? Officer Brennan, sitting in the driver's seat completing paperwork, doesn't respond. His body camera is still recording. Every word she says can and will be used against her. Victoria seems to realize that begging isn't working, so she tries a different tactic. Seduction. Her voice drops to a softer register. Officer, please. I know you're just doing your job. I overreacted. Can't we just forget this whole thing? I won't press charges against you if you let me go. Officer Brennan finally looks at her through the rearview mirror. Ma'am, You don't have charges to press against me. I was acting within the scope of my duties. You, on the other hand, are going to be booked for 3 criminal offenses. Victoria's face contorts. The tears dry up instantly. You're a pathetic excuse for a cop. You get off on abusing women. Officer Brennan starts the engine. And we're back to insults. The psychological whiplash is astounding. She's cycling through every manipulation tactic she knows. None of them work on someone who doesn't care about her approval. At the county jail, Victoria is processed through booking, photographed, fingerprinted, her personal belongings inventoried and stored. She refuses to cooperate at every step, requiring officers to physically guide her through each stage. Her mugshot is a horror show. Eyes wild, hair matted, expression twisted into pure hatred. It's the face of someone whose carefully constructed facade has been obliterated, revealing the ugliness underneath. When asked if she has any medical concerns or injuries, she claims her wrists are broken, her ribs are cracked, and she's having a heart attack. The booking nurse examines her. No injuries, no distress, vital signs normal. Victoria accuses the nurse of being part of the conspiracy. The nurse makes a note in the file. Incooperative, possibly under the influence. Recommend psychological evaluation. Victoria is placed in a holding cell by herself. She will spend the night there, alone, with nothing but her thoughts and the consequences of her choices. Meanwhile, her husband Martin is at his brother's house, sleeping soundly for the first time in months. The contrast could not be more stark. The legal analysis of Victoria's case is straightforward but damning. She committed multiple crimes in rapid succession, each one escalating her situation. First, obstruction of justice by refusing to identify herself during a lawful investigation. This is typically a misdemeanor, punishable by fines and possible jail time. Second, resisting arrest by physically pulling away and attempting to flee when Officer Brennan informed her she was under arrest. Also a misdemeanor in most jurisdictions, though it can be elevated depending on circumstances. Third, and most serious, assault on a law enforcement officer. When she swung at Officer Brennan, even though she didn't connect, she committed assault. The attempt is enough. This can be charged as a felony depending on state law. Combined, Victoria is looking at potential jail time, significant fines, mandatory anger management or substance abuse counseling, and a permanent criminal record. If she has a professional license, nursing, teaching, law, it could be revoked. If she works in a field requiring background checks, she could lose her job. The cascade of consequences from one night of ego-driven decision-making is staggering. And it was entirely avoidable. What drives someone like Victoria to self-destruct so spectacularly? The psychology is complex but follows predictable patterns. She likely operates from a worldview where she is the main character and everyone else is either an ally or an obstacle. In her marriage, she's clearly the dominant personality. Martin's compliance has reinforced her belief that aggression and control yield results. When the officers arrived, she expected them to fall into the same dynamic. She would assert dominance, they would comply, and she would get what she wanted, which was Martin punished or removed. But Officer Brennan didn't follow the script. He didn't seek her approval. He didn't defer to her demands. He treated her not as a person of status but as a subject in an investigation. This was intolerable to her. Her ego couldn't process being treated as equal or subordinate to authority. So she escalated, testing boundaries, waiting for him to back down. When he didn't, her only remaining option was total defiance, even if it meant self-destruction. It's a psychological pattern seen in narcissistic personalities when they encounter someone immune to their manipulation. Officer Brennan's approach in this case will be debated. Some will argue he was too aggressive, that he should have been more patient, that he escalated unnecessarily. Others will argue he was professional and appropriate, that Victoria's behavior demanded firm boundaries, and that endless patience in the face of obstruction enables bad behavior. The body camera footage will be the ultimate arbiter. It shows Officer Brennan giving clear lawful orders. It shows Victoria refusing repeatedly. It shows him warning her of consequences. It shows her dismissing those warnings. It shows her initiating physical conflict. Every action he took was a response to her escalation. Could a different officer have handled it differently? Perhaps. A more patient officer might have spent 30 minutes trying to de-escalate, might have called a supervisor, might have eventually achieved compliance without arrest. But that outcome isn't guaranteed. And Officer Brennan's approach, while less friendly, was entirely lawful. The notion that police must be endlessly accommodating to people actively obstructing investigations is not supported by law or policy. Respect is a two-way street. Victoria offered none. She received none in return. The impact on Martin cannot be overstated. For years, he's lived under Victoria's control. Psychological abuse often leaves fewer visible scars than physical abuse, but it's no less damaging. The constant criticism, the manipulation, the threats, the isolation from friends and family who couldn't tolerate Victoria's behavior. Martin has been in survival mode, calculating every word and action to avoid triggering her rage. Tonight, he watched the system he'd been afraid to invoke actually work. He gave a statement. The officers believed him. Victoria was held accountable. That validation is powerful. It's the first step toward reclaiming his life. In the coming days, Martin will likely file for divorce. He'll probably seek a protective order to ensure Victoria can't contact him during the proceedings. He'll reconnect with family and friends he's lost touch with, and he'll begin the long process of rebuilding his sense of self-worth. Victoria's arrest didn't just punish her. It freed him. That's the hidden benefit of enforcing domestic violence laws even when the abuse isn't physical. It breaks the cycle. Victoria will face a bond hearing within 24 hours. A magistrate will review the charges and set bail. Given that she assaulted an officer, bail will likely be substantial. If she can post it, she'll be released with conditions. No contact with Martin, no possession of alcohol, regular check-ins with pretrial services. If she violates any of those conditions, she'll be rearrested and bail will be revoked. If she can't post bail, she'll remain in custody until her court date, which could be weeks or months away depending on court backlog. During this time, she'll have access to a phone in the commissary, but she'll be subject to the rules and routines of incarceration. No control, no authority, just compliance or consequences. For someone like Victoria, this will be psychological torture. Her lawyer, whether private or public defender, will likely advise her to take a plea deal. Plead guilty to reduced charges, accept probation, complete required programs, and move on. If she insists on fighting the charges, she'll lose. The body camera evidence is irrefutable. A jury will watch her refuse orders, lie, and assault an officer. They'll convict in minutes. The broader societal lesson here is about the limits of personal sovereignty. Victoria genuinely believed that her home was a castle where her word was law. This belief is not uncommon. Many people operate under the assumption that property ownership grants them absolute authority within their property boundaries. But that's never been true. Your rights end where someone else's begin. Your property rights don't supersede the safety of others inside your home. Your authority doesn't extend to obstructing lawful police investigations. And your desire for control doesn't override the rule of law. The social contract we all live under is simple. You have rights. You also have responsibilities. When police respond to a call, they're exercising the authority granted to them by the community to maintain order and protect safety. You can disagree with their presence. You can assert your rights calmly and clearly. But you cannot physically obstruct them, refuse lawful orders, or assault them without facing consequences. Victoria wanted the benefits of living in a society with police protection. She called them after all, but she didn't want to accept the responsibilities that come with it. That's not how it works. And Officer Brennan made sure she learned that lesson the hard way. In the end, Victoria's downfall was her inability to recognize that not everyone can be controlled. She'd built a life where she dominated every situation through force of personality. Her husband submitted. Friends and family either tolerated her or disappeared. People in service positions smiled and accommodated her demands because it was easier than confrontation. She'd never met someone who said no and meant it. Officer Brennan was that someone. He had no personal stake in her approval. He wasn't afraid of her threats. He wasn't moved by her tears or her rage. He had a job to do, authority to do it, and the will to see it through regardless of her reaction. That combination is kryptonite to people like Victoria. They have no defense against someone who genuinely doesn't care about manipulating them. The result was total systemic collapse. Every tactic failed. Every escalation backfired. And by the end of the night, the woman who demanded control over everyone and everything couldn't even control where she slept. So here's my question for you. Do you think Officer Brennan handled this correctly, or should he have tried harder to de-escalate before making the arrest? Is there such a thing as being too firm with someone who's clearly uncooperative, or is this exactly the approach entitled behavior requires? Let me know your thoughts in the comment. Do remember to hit the subscribe button, like and share this story, and I'll see you in the next one.